When Konstantin Ivanov tried to withdraw money from his Russian bank account at a cash machine in Bali, he quickly realised the transaction was blocked. The 27-year-old is one of the Russians abroad feeling the squeeze from economic sanctions, despite living far away from home.
This has created a huge problem for us. Basically, going to shops to buy products, to pay at the markets, paying for staying at hotels, villas or guest houses, we have been left completely stripped of our finances. It's like they have been completely frozen and we cannot use our finances at all over here.
Bali is a popular holiday destination with Russian tourists. More than 1,100 entered Indonesia in January, according to data from the Statistics Bureau. Rifki Saldiyanto is a cafe manager. He says there's been a decline in Russian customers in recent days, and many now pay with cash instead of credit card. MasterCard and Visa have suspended services in Russia, and many of the country's banks have been shut out of international payment systems. Now, some Russians have sought to open bank accounts in Indonesia, like Ruslan. He says the Russian community is banding together to help each other out.
I
heard from my Russian friends about their financial troubles. But you know how it is with us Russians. We help each other. I have a local bank account, and I will help my friends, as they helped me too with their money. I will send my money to their bank, and so we Russians will help each other, as we are now the only ones left. We have no one else to help but ourselves.
Despite the financial troubles, Konstantin is hopeful for a peaceful resolution to the conflict.
I think ordinary Russian people are very disappointed with the recent events and developments. Absolutely no one needs a war. People of our country do not need a war, and neither do the people of Ukraine. Nobody wanted this war. We are really worried. Nobody wants war. We all need peace.
U.S. President Joe Biden Wednesday signed an executive order requiring the government to assess the risks and benefits of cryptocurrencies and to explore the creation of a digital dollar. The president's order requires the Treasury Department, the Commerce Department, and other key agencies to prepare reports on the future of money. It's a first step toward coordinated government regulation of the now $3 trillion industry. Administration officials said oversight of the booming sector is essential to ensure U.S. national security, financial stability, and to fend off the growing threat of cybercrime.
What we have today is incredibly thoughtful.
Kristen Smith, executive director of the Blockchain Association, says the industry welcomes the approach.
What we want is a measured, methodical approach to analyzing this space. What we don't want are rushed policies that are pushed through last minute without open discussion. And in order to get a menu of policy solutions to consider, you really have to start with the type of analysis that this executive order is asking for today. So I think the asset class is at a valuation that merits this type of investigation. It's not too late. It's also not too early.
White House officials said the U.S. was taking great care to decide whether and how to move forward with a U.S. central bank digital currency, or CBDC. According to the Atlantic Council, 9 countries have launched central bank digital currencies, and 16 others, including China, have begun development of such digital assets, leading some in Washington to worry that the dollar could lose some of its dominance to China. Bitcoin surged on the news of the executive order, calming market fears of an immediate crackdown on cryptocurrencies.
U.S. stocks bounced back with a vengeance on Wednesday after several days of declines as oil prices pulled back sharply and investors gauged developments in Ukraine. Payne Capital Management President Ryan Payne.
We're seeing commodity prices finally come down, which obviously less pressure on the cost of goods
cost of oil is good for the consumer. And, maybe what the market's signaling here is at some point we may see a resolution between Russia and Ukraine. I hope I'm not being too hopeful, but I think bottom line is you are seeing cooler heads prevail today in the commodity market. And that's very, very good for stocks because raw material costs are a huge component to cost for companies as they manage their margins here.
The Dow rose 2% and the S&P 500 gained 2.5%, while the Nasdaq surged, rising more than 3.5%. Oil tumbled on Wednesday after reports that the United Arab Emirates will call on fellow OPEC members to boost production, potentially easing some of the supply concerns caused by sanctions on Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. Financial and tech shares led the surge higher Wednesday, while energy stocks took a breather. So far, the energy sector has been the standout sector performer in 2022. Travel and leisure stocks, which were hit hard recently, also soared, including shares of Carnival Cruise Line and United Airlines, both closing up more than 8% higher. And Netflix climbed 5% after Wedbush securities analyst Michael Pachter upgraded the stock from underperformed to neutral, noting a, quote, nearly insurmountable competitive advantage over its streaming peers.
South Africa's Aspen Pharmacare will supply its own branded COVID-19 vaccine to African countries by June, its chief executive said on Wednesday. The company had announced on Tuesday a deal with Johnson & Johnson, allowing it to package, sell and distribute the American group's vaccines under the Aspenovax brand. That's paved the way for Aspen to supply the shots across Africa, which has by far the lowest vaccination rates in the world. CEO Stephen Sard said the company would be in a position to provide 35 million doses per month by June. Some of those are still contracted to J&J under a previous deal agreed in November 2020. That sees Aspen package vaccine components into final vials, a process called fill and finish, and returning them to J&J. Under the new deal, Sard said Aspen would only package the vaccine and not produce the substance, which many South African health experts have said would be the next step for Aspen under its J&J partnership. The news came as Aspen reported a 37% rise in profits for the half year to December 31st. Its shares were up by around 5% on Wednesday, outpacing a 0.6% rise in the broader market index. And Sard predicts the numbers will keep going in that direction. He said Aspenovax will lead to a material jump in its revenues and profits from next year, starting July 2022.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers on Wednesday urged the Department of Justice to investigate Amazon, accusing the e-commerce giant and some of its top executives of, quote, potentially criminal conduct. In a letter dated March 9th to Attorney General Merrick Garland, 5 members of the U.S. House Judiciary Committee, including Democrat Gerald Nadler, who chairs the committee, David Cicilline, Pramila Jayapal, and Republicans Ken Buck and Matt Gaetz, said Amazon had engaged in a pattern and practice of misleading conduct that suggests it was acting with an improper purpose to influence or obstruct the panel's investigation into competition in digital markets. The letter added, quote, we have no choice but to refer this matter to the Department of Justice to investigate whether Amazon and its executives obstructed Congress in violation of applicable federal law. In response, an Amazon spokesperson told Reuters in an emailed statement, quote, there's no factual basis for this, as demonstrated in the huge volume of information we've provided over several years of good faith cooperation with this investigation. The DOJ did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The referral to the Justice Department follows a previous warning from members of the committee in October of last year that accused Amazon's top executives, including founder Jeff Bezos, of either misleading Congress or possibly lying to it about Amazon's business practices. That letter had come days after a Reuters investigation based on thousands of internal documents showing that Amazon had a formal clandestine policy of rigging search results in India to favor its own products, as well as copying other sellers' goods, practices Amazon has denied engaging in.